Hey, my name is Brent here on Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Today we're heading back to the land of Astoria. We'll be building more buildings, more towns, more railroads. Today we check out the Fat Cat expansion for Raccoon Tycoon. Cue the thunder. Okay, so the radar overview for the Fat Cat expansion. So let's show you what exactly you get in this Fat Cat expansion. You get another first player marker, and again, just ridiculously oversized. You could just pick either that one or the raccoon one, but again, they look great and they just sit on the table. So what else do you get? You get these nice new player boards. They're recessed, so these tiles then just kind of sit in there. And then your commodities go up here. For every building you have, you get more. So these are pretty nice. I'll get to this this section in just a moment. A big thing that people were wanting, they were wanting shields, player shields for hiding your money. And so Forbidden Games did that. There's one for each of the railroads, and they each have a special power. So both the skunks are the same, or all the animals are the same, regardless of the gender. But they each have a special one, special ability. So this is special power is immediately upgrade a building tile, a building B tile. The foxes use the ability of another player's building as if it was your own. The raccoons collect $8 on your first turn. The bears, you can move one commodity to the bottom value in the market and then collect $5. So you're pretty much just flooding the market and dropping the price. Again, these are all one-time use abilities. The jackrabbits, you go first and you get 4 commodities. The top dogs, you can buy a building for half price, and then the cats can make you pay taxes. So those are pretty cool, and it has all of the actions and what to do on the inside. So very nice touch from Forbidden Games. The artwork, once again, absolutely fantastic. They also have now components for 6 players. So you saw the Jackrabbit. So here are the Jackrabbit railroads, and then they also have a couple Badger Baron railroads. These start at $20, but they're wild. They can be added to any set of your railroad. So they're quite pricey, but they could really help you out. And then enough towns for 6 players. They also add alternative artwork. Very cool. Glenn Drover's daughter did this alternative artwork when she was younger, and so they just added that. I really like these slimy frogs. They got replaced with the skunks, but you know what? Wasn't necessary, but just another personal touch that Forbidden Games has done in their production quality. Always top notch. The big thing in this expansion, more buildings, more buildings. I think another 13 buildings, and they are absolutely, it's just great. Like this one, costs you $10, and it's 1 victory point for each railroad. Coffee roaster, $50, but you receive a bonus action after using a sell action. So there's a whole bunch of new ones, one for 1 victory point for a town card. There's actually 3 of these, so you can really engine build that. Upgraded or updated tiles with the Fat Cat expansion for balancing issues. And so those are a bunch of the buildings, and then they have these 4, and they coincide with these new meeples. So we'll start with the animal, and that would be these little guys. Check them out, they're pretty sweet. So you will be collecting these. There's a certain amount depending on how many players are playing, and when you do your price production phase, instead of putting your wheat up here, you can put them here and then spend 2 wheat to then gain 1 of these meeples. And then the same thing would be for the tycoons. Instead of putting the luxury up there, you fill this, and as soon as this is filled, you can buy these. So at the end of the game, however far you are on this, that is how many points you get. So in this case, this would be 9 points for the animal meeples, and then 7 for those. So that's how that works. And then they have a couple of these buildings. This one, it counts as an animal meeple on your player board, and then this one counts as a tycoon meeple on your player board. So those are those tiles, and then you have the locomotive factory as well as the housing construction. So one person can buy this, $25. There's only 1 of each of these. It costs, then you can buy a locomotive meeple. You pay 1 iron and 1 coal, and you get a locomotive meeple. What do? So you would put these on, as soon as you would buy this, you would then put it on a railroad that you have collected. Okay, at the end of the game, for each one you have is worth $3. Instead of buying it during your price and production phase or action, you could then take this and then you could sell it back to the bank, and then this would then go on one of the two that are on the main board up for auction. So that's how those work. And again, they're worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. Each railroad card can only have one of these on them. And then the housing meeples are very similar. They can go or can be purchased by the person with the housing construction for 1 wood and 1 goods. Instead of the railroads, they would go on a town card, and they act just the same. At the end of the game, they're worth 3 victory points. On if you do the price and production when you buy these, instead of buying it, you could then sell one of these and put it on the town card that anybody can purchase. So that's how those work. They also give you this nice score pad. It's got lots of new ways to score. So there you go. That is the radar overview for the Fat Cat expansion for Raccoon Tycoon. So that is the radar overview for the Fat Cat expansion for Raccoon Tycoon. I will say this, if you don't know how to play the base game of Raccoon Tycoon, I put a link to my video below. After you watch that, this whole overview and review of the Fat Cat expansion will make a lot more sense. So moving on, as you can see behind me, the game box for the Fat Cat expansion is massive. Okay, so right here I have the deluxe edition base game, and then underneath is the deluxe edition with the Fat Cat expansion. So it is a table hog. It takes a lot of space. Those player boards are absolutely massive. Makes it a little bit easier for you to, you know, make your little player section and have all your building tiles in that recessed board, and just collecting all your resources at the top, the commodities and all that stuff. So player boards, I really do enjoy those. Bottom line, this expansion opens the game up considerably. There's so many new buildings. I think there's 13 new buildings. You add those with the base game building, and you have you have 2 huge stacks of buildings, which I don't think you will see. You won't see all of them every game. That's absolutely for sure. And I think you know, one of the game end triggers is when all the buildings are gone. And I think that game end trigger will probably not happen as often with this expansion, because there's just considerably that many more buildings. I love the buildings that lets you kind of focus your strategy. There's a few buildings that give you extra victory points for every town card, or every railroad, or every combination of town and railroad, or every building. There's just so many more ways to score points, and some of the tiles that just let you do, you know, an extra action when you do the sell action for that coffee roaster one. So there's just more ways to score. And this is a game that I've always enjoyed, multiple avenues to victory, and this expansion just gives you even more avenues to victory. Those new meeples, they're really cool. You know, you collect the wheat, and then instead of putting it in your normal commodity section, you fill up those the little animal meeple ones, and then you buy those animal meeples. There's a limited supply each game, so it's kind of a race to get them as quick as possible. But as you're doing that, then you're not going to have wheat to sell to gain money. So just overall, I love all the meeples. A big thing that lots of people were wanting were the player shields. I think these player shields are pretty good. They have that nice artwork. They have on the backside all the information as to what you can do, one of the 5 actions. So I think those are great. They hide your money, which this game, whenever we used to play it with the paper money or the plastic money, everybody had their phone on the table, and they would have all their money underneath their phone. And this kind of eliminates that. So take that for what it is, but those are great. The player powers, I think those are pretty cool as well. And just overall, just a great expansion. It adds a 6th player, so you can have more players, an extra player. So I think that's pretty sweet. Maybe a downside to that, with that 6th player, it's going to draw the game out a little bit. And I would say you can kind of estimate a 2-hour game with the 6th player. With those extra buildings and all that, in a 6-player game, it's going to make the game that much longer. So I know my sweet spot for games is 30 to 60 minutes. This already with the base game extends out of that little time frame, and of course that time frame is kind of just my sweet spot. Not to say I don't like games that are longer, but one big thing I want to mention, this Fat Cat expansion is not compatible with the standard edition of Raccoon Tycoon. I don't know if Forbidden Games has something in the works to make a smaller box with just the most of the components minus the player board for a standard edition of this game. But if you buy just, again, the standard edition from Barnes & Noble or anywhere else, you won't be able to use this Fat Cat expansion. I think that's a big thing you need to know going into this. I've heard other people, they bought this expansion and it's not compatible. This one has the tarot size cards and the standard game doesn't. So be very, very mindful of that. Overall, fantastic expansion for an already fantastic game. So if you have the deluxe edition of Raccoon Tycoon and you enjoy Raccoon Tycoon, I think you'll like this that much more. This is an expansion there where you will just add everything every time. You won't say, hey, let's play with the expansion this time. Hey, let's not. This is just adding more content to an already fantastic base game. And this is bringing my love for the game up from 80% chance to an 85% chance of meeples. Because, like I said, I love Raccoon Tycoon. Production quality, fantastic. Just overall, such a fun game. And so if you're looking for more from the land of Astoria, check out the Fat Cat expansion for Raccoon Tycoon. My name is Brent. Check us out on Facebook, Cloudy with the Chance of Meeples. Remember, grab your umbrella. The forecast is cloudy with the chance of meeples.